Hello and welcome to the Rec and Practice Management Generic Disbursement Import process. My name is Tanya and I'll guide you through the process. Our agenda will be to look at three main components. Understand what and when you would use a disbursement import into Rec and APS, what are the configuration options you're going to need to make this work, and how to complete and post your disbursements to the work in progress ledger so that you can fee those disbursements on. The generic disbursement import process essentially is useful where you are finding you are data entering lots of disbursements manually that you would have in an electronic file format. So if you have a third-party system that you have a matter ID and a gross amount and you want to bulk upload those things that's been saved into a file format, then we can use the data import export process to import those transactions and put them into the Rec and APS disbursements area. How does it work? Well, you need to have a source file, and the source file will need to be saved as a comma-separated variable file. In this example, we have a very simple one where it is the matter ID is the first column and the amount in the second column. Using the data import export wizard, you would create a template so that you could reuse the properties and reuse the file from month to month, period to period, week to week. You set up the properties or configuration of that particular import file process. And there's really three main areas to it, and these are explained further in your workbook. The first area is the actual name of the file and the directory that you're importing it from. The importation class remains the same. The second element is the column position, which is to do with your CSV file directly. As I said, this is a simple example where we have matter ID as column 2 and the amount as column 1. And the third area relates to any defaults, so anything that's not in your CSV file that you need to specify to be able to actually bring in the disbursement. Those things would be what disbursement type it's going to be, any narrations, any fee earner associated to that. And these again are explained in the workbook. So let me take a closer look and do a demonstration for you. Okay, so firstly you would open your data import export screen. Make sure you have the right security to do this. You'll need to create a new template, and that's just done by right clicking and doing the create new template. Once you've created the name for the template, you double click on that template and you'll see the properties. So the properties of this one that we're importing are the same as that we explained in the video earlier. Make sure you have saved your file in the directory that you've set up in your properties to make sure it will import. That's usually a network folder. In my case, it's the local drive. Select Next and you'll ask for a WIP period. It will default to the current open period. If you need to change this, you have the choice. As I haven't specified a date in my import file for the transactions of the import, I have selected this option to change it to the last day of the selected period. The import file has been found and it has valid and invalid data. I can look at Next to see what is valid and what is invalid. The valid data I'm not that concerned about, but I can see that all my information that I'm expecting has come across. If I look at my invalid data, I will see that I have 3 rows in this particular example. The reason why this is invalid is that there's 3 matters that have disbursements disallowed, and that is through the yes, no or true false flag on the matter to allow disbursements. So I have 2 choices. I can go into the 3 matters and go and allow the disbursements, cancel this and re-import the file. Or I can accept this as as an invalid data, and I will deal with these 3 items separately and manually entering these amounts. I would export this to Excel so that I know what are the 3 items I need to re-import. And that's the option I'm going to choose so I can show you what happens with the invalid data. It will confirm that the 3 invalid rows will not be imported, and I will select Yes to continue. It's now successfully imported 153 rows. Those imports themselves will be in the disbursements area. There will be an active batch with those disbursements imported. I can see here I have my 153 entries, and I complete the batch once I've validated that I'm confirming that they are all correct. And once I've completed that, I will then post the batch as per normal procedure. The invalid data that we saw earlier is saved now in your disbursement import folder. You'll notice that the import file itself has been deleted from the folder, and the invalid data is now in there. This is why we do recommend that the original file is also saved in a backup folder. My 5 matters that I need to enter and the amounts are here. The workbook goes through the various definitions of each example. For example, the client reference import process will have different columns. So when we look at the column format for this, it will be quite different to the one that we just imported that just had 2 columns. The reference here that you see is to do with either a client code or a client reference number that you might have in your third-party system. We could link that to the client ID. That, in conjunction with the standard matter, will identify which matter these disbursements are to go into. So Workbook will explain those details in more context. So in summary today, we've had a look at the disbursement import process. The learning outcomes is that we've created a disbursement import template. We understand that the CSV file imports based on the template and the mapping that you have in that template. Once the data import-export process is invoked, you'll be able to successfully create a disbursement batch that you can then complete and post to the Work in Progress ledger. On behalf of the Reckon Training Academy, I'd like to thank you for your time today, and we hope you found this useful.